Pat Nevin and Vicky Sparks.
Thank you, Kelly. Good evening, everyone. So the story of the FIFA World Cup is about to begin, and we will journey it together in all its complexity after the national anthems.
For the playing of the national anthem of Ecuador.
The anthem of Ecuador and now of Qatar. The Qatari flags around the Al Stadium are waving, sung with gusto with the Qataris inside this stadium. And the players line up in front of us, Qatar in their maroon kit, Ecuador in all yellow. And the flags of FIFA and FIFA's message for this match are folded away and carried off by the volunteers. Football unites the world. That's the message from FIFA. But as we've said, there are many messages, many stories around this World Cup, and we will bring all of them to you here over the next month or so here on BBC Radio 5 Live. This story is a story 12 years in the making when Sepp Blatter pulled that card marked Qatar from that envelope. And it's a story that has brought Qatar's players here to the Al Bayt Stadium, which holds 60,000, 20 miles north or so of central Doha, surrounded by desert, as this country prepares to make its first ever appearance at a World Cup. Pat Nevin alongside me, and it was interesting watching the Qatar players as that national anthem was sung. We saw some looking nervous, some looking excited, roaring it out. This is a huge, huge moment for the Qatar national side.
I do tend to look at players' faces, not just when they're doing the national anthems, but before that. And before they walked out, even before the warm-up, there was a lot more fear in the Qatari faces. a lot more nervousness in the Qatari faces. The expectations are high. They are underdogs to a large degree in this game, but there's not the same level of fear from the Ecuadorian players. That might change as soon as the game starts. A lot of players say that they enjoy the nervousness. It helps them get going a little bit. But at that point in time, you could see, I think the Ecuadorians can't wait to get out there. That's what they're saying just now to me with their facial expressions.
Yes, the two captains holding their pennants and exchanging handshakes. And Valencia, the former West Ham and Everton player, Ecuador's captain and record goal scorer as well, and Hassan Al-Haydos, hugely experienced Qatari midfielder, their most capped player, as the players break into their pre-match huddles. Yes, Ecuador as a country have been here before. This is their 4th World Cup, but for all but 3 of their squad, it is their debut on a playing personal level at this tournament. The last one they qualified for was back in 2014. So for many of these players, Pat, although their country's been here before, this is a new experience.
Quite interesting though, you're right, it is, but what Tim Vickery was mentioned before, a lot of them have come through the Youth World Cups, etc. This gives you a little help, a little bit of a build-up. You know what tournament football's like, played against other national sides, and they are young, and they've been together, a lot of them, for quite a long time. We see this as youngest group just out within the World Cup, and in the end, really, when you've got your mates beside you, that can kind of help. That's a brilliant thing. There's also that they won't be thinking it right now, but it may be the first World Cups, but they know, they do well. This might not be their last World Cup either, it might not even be their best World Cup, but I think they'll be fearless today. And see if, just simply as a player, see if your manager turns around and says, right, why don't you have a go at them today, playing 4-4-2, 2 wingers, 2 strikers, you can do this lot. I'm sure not exactly in that accent, then it really, really helps.
So Qatar it is who will get this FIFA World Cup underway. It's their 2 main players, Akram Afif and Almoez Ali, the duo that Qatar fans hope will be able to get the better of this Ecuador defence as we count down, and Qatar are off and underway already as they play the ball into the penalty area. Ecuador will clear the ball away up towards the halfway line. They didn't wait for the countdown to finish there. I wonder if that's a tactic.
Very
from
good
the,
tactic,
from
unusual.
the Qataris. They just went. Maybe the referee had blown his whistle. To be fair, we wouldn't be able to hear. The PA is so loud, and the stadium as well is finding its voice as Qatar win a free kick just inside their own half, playing from left to right. The referee, incidentally, Daniele Orsato of Italy, who refereed England's victory over Croatia at Euro 2020 in the Champions League final as well in 2020. Very experienced Italian referee. So Qatar in possession. Will take you through the lineups in a moment as they are just inside their own half. All in the maroon kit. They are known as the Maroons. Qatar and Ecuador all in the bright yellow. 2 Brighton players, incidentally, in the Ecuador starting lineup. Caicedo and Estupinian Sarmiento is on the bench as well for Ecuador as Qatar win the ball back and play it just inside their own half. So Qatar with Al-Sheeb in goal, the back 5 of Miguel, Al-Rawi, Huki, Hassan and Ahmed. Ahead of them it's Hatem, Boudiaf and Al-Haydos, the captain, with Almoez Ali and Akram Afif. They're 2 danger players up front as Ecuador win a free kick just inside the Qatar half. Ecuador, who have Galindez in goal, he's got the nod ahead of Alexander Dominguez, who was number 1 at the World Cup in 2014. Their back 4 is Preciado, Torres, Hincapié, who's been linked with Tottenham and Arsenal in the past, the young centre-half, and Pervis Estupinian of Brighton. Caicedo of Brighton, huge player for Ecuador, even though he's just turned 21, made a real impression on the national side. Mendes and Plata and Ibarra make up the midfield with Estrada and Ene Valencia, the captain, their record goal scorer up front. So Ecuador with this set piece to be taken just inside the Qatar half, and a first opportunity for a side that have only scored twice in their last 6 games, one of those being a their stride once again. So the ball into the penalty area. It's not quite cleared by Qatar. Ecuador trying to fashion an opportunity, and the acrobatic effort is in. Ene Valencia is the man who finishes it off inside the 6-yard box. It's the worst possible start for the hosts. Inside 3 minutes, it's Ecuador who lead Qatar by a goal to nil.
It's the first real attempt up the field. Chaos in the defence there. Very noticeable, the referee has let 3 massive physical challenges go from both sides at the start of the game there. And then when the ball was played in, Qatari goalkeeper Al-Shib, all over the place, absolutely all over the place. He went through the ball first time, missed it completely. Second time he went there, he had his back to the ball when he was trying to punch it. It was all over the place, flapping. And when the ball was played in there, he's got himself exactly in the right place there, Valencia. So that tactic of going for a 4-4-2 has paid off fairly quickly.
And with that goal, he's already their country's record goal scorer, but he also becomes Ecuador's record scorer at World Cups. Back in 2014, when they last qualified, he scored all 3 goals in Valencia, and now the former West Ham and Everton man is Ecuador's record goal scorer. And Qatar, well, 5 minutes after they kicked off the World Cup, have to kick off again, trailing by a goal to nil. But honestly, Pat, you're being too kind about the goalkeeping. We have to be honest. That was very, very poor.
By the way, I think
Saeed Al-Shib.
Checking for offside.
They are. So are we to have VAR drama to add to everything else in the opening 5 minutes of this World Cup? We're not seeing a replay. They are checking for a possible offside leading up to the goal. Is there to be a reprieve here for what was some pretty abysmal Qatari defending in the opening 3 minutes? And Valencia waits to find out if that goal will be given. Referee Daniele Osato is telling Qatar
I have to say, I didn't see an obvious one there. Maybe some of the challenges I was talking to before were extra physical, but I didn't see anything. Oh, he's going to have a look. No.
Offside. The arms gone up. The roar around the Albat Stadium. The Qatari flags waving. And Qatar are reprieved. Goal disallowed. Offside is the confirmation. It comes up on our screen and the big screens inside the stadium. And Ecuador had the goal chalked off, and we're back at 0-0.
I tell you what, you must, if you're, you know what, the ball's played in there. Keeper's out as goal, remember? So there's only, I'm trying to see it. It must be from the initial play in. It must have been from the, it is not clear.
Yeah, the replay they've shown us, there is no offside in that replay. It's carnage in the Qatar penalty area. I just wonder whether it possibly was disallowed for something else and they've given the wrong notification, because I've been at games where occasionally that's happened before.
Well, as I say, the physicality of the challenges is quite obvious.
The Qatar goalkeeper was complaining and saying that he'd been blocked off, but regardless, they have found a reason to disallow it. We can't see the offside from that replay, whether it was in the build-up, whether it was just something else. And they've given the stadium the incorrect information. Who knows? But what we do know is that it's 0-0, and Qatar are in possession as they play it around this central defence. Out to the right-hand side, and Pedro Miguel, one of several players in the Al Sadd side that are in this Qatari lineup, as the ball bounces all the way through to Hernan Galindez. Al Sadd, Qatar's reigning champions, the most successful side in Qatari history, and Ecuador, having thought they'd taken that early lead through Valencia.
Do you know what's really getting me? You're talking about that there. Look, this is the story here. We've got a feed coming through here, and maybe we've just got the clean feed that they get in the stadiums here. They haven't shown how they've come to the decision that it's offside, and I want to see it because I've watched it twice now, and it's not obvious. I'm not saying it's not offside, but it's not very obvious.
No, and normally they do show the decisive replay, and certainly what we saw, couldn't see it, but we presume there was an incident there, either in what they're not showing us or potentially for a foul on Al-Shib, and they've just flagged it up incorrectly as offside. But we will see. We play on for now. 7 minutes played at the Albat Stadium in this World Cup opener, and Ecuador are in possession. Here is the Brighton man, Pervis Estupiñán. Cleared away his ball forward by Qatar, and they have it just outside their own penalty area. Talk about how important Caicedo has become at such a young age for Ecuador. Estupiñán from that full-back position, so key for them as well. No defender created more chances than he did in the whole of South American qualifying, and here he is now on the halfway line. Plays the ball forward, looking for the run through the centre, headed down by Valencia, but there's no yellow shirt there, and it will be cleared away by Homam Ahmeds for Qatar.
Yeah, every time the ball's played in, they do look dangerous on the Ecuadorian side. They've got a lot of power in there. We know Estrada's a good, strong player, and we know Valencia too. They're not slow. If you've got wide players, you've got wingers, get the ball in the middle, let them attack it. Shown already with the goal that was scored early on that there can be pandemonium in that central defensive area for Qatar, even though they have got 3 centre-backs.
Yep, that goal chalked off for Ecuador, so it's still 0-0 as they launch the throw deep into the Qatar penalty area. Cleared away by Qatar, but will come back in from this right-hand side. Ecuador will try and help it onto the edge of the area. Ibarra was up there, and they will just trap it outside the Qatar box. Here is Romario Ibarra once more as Ecuador look to work it down this left-hand side. There's patience now as the Estupinian gets it back midway through the Qatar half, and now Ecuador just settling into their rhythm, send it back to the centre circle, and Jegson Mendes as the ball is high and punched by Saad Al-Sheib inside the Qatar penalty area, and they just about get away with it. They have the ball just outside their box. No pressure now from Ecuador, but you have to say Al-Sheib not looking convincing so far, the Qatar goalkeeper, as Ecuador win it back just outside the centre circle.
Yeah, there's some suggestion is that foul on the goalkeeper. Yeah, right. Al-Sheib is so lucky there. It's one of those ones where there might be some contact, but I've watched it only twice so far, and I've found it very, very difficult. I mean, I know there's a lot else going on just now, but that's going to be the biggest talking point, that the home side managed to get away with an early goal that was scored against them. I'm struggling to see a problem with. And by the way, here's the thing to add on top of it. Al-Sheib, the keeper, wasn't complaining. You know, he didn't seem to complain much. He was complaining about his own defenders, but he wasn't complaining about, a foul on him. So, and then we're seeing another one up here, another call for offside, whereas a foot in the offside, but it's still not clear. They've got a few things to organise a little bit better with the tech here.
Yeah, the VAR, the communication. How many times have we said that? 10 minutes gone. Ecuador have a free kick on the left-hand side. Cleared away once more by Qatar. Not hugely convincingly. And Ecuador will have it back once more. Played out to the right-hand side as they look to put pressure on this Qatar defence. The maroon shirts camped inside their own penalty area. Good sliding block at the back by Abdel Karim Hassan, the very experienced left centre half, as he is playing now for Qatar, with Homam Ahmeds, the 23-year-old, really impressing at left wing back. So Hassan, really experienced player for the Qatar national side. Key as they try and withstand this early Ecuador onslaught. Ecuador, who've had an Valencia goal ruled out already, send the ball into the area once more, and it will go out for a corner. Qatar 0, Ecuador 0 in the opening match of the World Cup. 11 minutes gone.
Got a bit of problem, haven't they, Qatar? They cannot get out of their own half. They're not getting any good ball in midfield. They're not holding it because they've got a back five. They've been completely outnumbered in the midfield there. They've been passed off the pitch. There's balls getting put in. Keeper's obviously a bit of a weakness so far, and you just wonder if they can keep on doing this for any length of time, Qatar.
Yeah, they're under real pressure, and almost everybody bar Akram Afif, who's still just outside his own penalty area, is in the Qatari penalty area for Qatar. So, the referee Daniele Orsato is just having a word with several of the players in the penalty area. Now, what's he spotted here? On the goal line, a little conversation is taking place between Caicedo of Ecuador and Brighton and Bassam Al-Rawi, and the referee's still not happy about this. He's telling them to desist. To be honest, Pat, from here, I mean, I know we're high up in the Al Bayt Stadium. I can't see too much wrong with that.
No,
I mean, they're entitled to stand next to each other.
Exactly.
As the corner comes in, dealt with by the first defender, cleared away, looking for Akram Afif, but he can't latch onto it. And it is all Ecuador at the moment. They have a throw on the far side, 0-0 on 5 Live.
I think the referee was slightly miffed. Caicedo's just quite simply trying to get in front of the goalkeeper. It is clear that Ecuador have knocked him out as a weakness there. They try to put the ball on top of him in every opportunity, put him under pressure, because I think they basically think he's a flapper. And he's done nothing so far that's changed my mind in that, but you never know. It bit of nervousness. We talked about that nervousness before the game, and to some degree you understand it. I mean, we talked earlier on about 4 or 5 months they've been together. The build-up for this moment, so you can understand why they're a little bit spooked by it.
Ecuador in possession midway through their own half. Yes, 4 or 5 months together in the training camp, but so many of these players, as we were saying, they've known for 12 years. That the last 12 years of their lives has been leading up to this, as the ball is played out poorly by Ecuador, and Qatar will have a throw midway through the Ecuador half on the right-hand side, 0-0.
I'm trying to see, we're showing the offside now. We're not showing the offside, we're showing the technical side of it. I saw that, I spotted that, but I didn't think that he had taken part in the play. I think it was another touch before it got back to him, but look, they've looked over it. VR officials are specialists at it, but I'll tell you what, they've got away with it. They've got so lucky, the Qataris.
Yeah, it was really poor defending from Qatar, but FIFA there showing what they say is the decisive frame, and it's one of those where, because the keeper is so far out, you are looking along the line and trying to see if you've got two defenders back there.
They've not actually showed us the
no, they haven't shown us the stadium yet.
They've actually just showed us the technical side of it, so you're not seeing what part of the play that was. And I think it was, as I originally said, it was the first ball in from the free kick.
Yeah.
That's what but there was about 7 or 8 or 9 touches after that.
Yeah. So Qatar with the free kick, it's one of those things as well where they mix it with what they call intelligent football. So their way that they measure the ball, it can measure every single point of contact, and for offsides as well, they can look at when the momentum of the ball changes, so they can decide when the ball is played forward. But as you say, deciding whether a player is active or not, as Ecuador come through here, trying to win the penalty, play continues and the penalty's given. It's good refereeing from Daniele Ossato. It looked a clear foul by the goalkeeper Saad El Sheib, who has really struggled in these opening 15 minutes, and Ecuador will have a chance from the spot to take the lead after having an early goal ruled out for offside. Enner Valencia, the captain, the record goal scorer, clearly taken out by Al Sheib. He's not having a good start. Can Ecuador make it even worse for Qatar?
I have to say, Vicky, his defenders haven't helped him much. They've straight through the centre there. The two up front are causing the Qatari centre-backs all sorts of trouble. So it wasn't any a particularly sophisticated break to get through there, but they did. A little bit of a 1-2, played it through. Space is too much for these centre-backs. Keeper's left 1-1. He's got an option. Let him go by and score, or bring him down for a penalty kick. He's deciding the penalty.
Well, he's been given a yellow card as well, Al Sheib. So Enner Valencia, formerly of West Ham and Everton. Leading scorer at World Cups as well. It's Enner Valencia against Saad Al Sheib. He's had a shaky start to this match. He's just given away the penalty. Can he redeem himself and keep Qatar level here? It's Valencia, it's 1-0, it's so calm, it's rolled into the bottom corner, and we have the first goal of the World Cup 2022. It's gone against the host Qatar. It's Qatar 0, Ecuador 1.
I almost burst out laughing there. The referee's got his finger to his ear as if to say, I better check that. No, give us a break. That's a goal. Really nice penalty. Calmly run up to it. Put the keeper the wrong way. Dived very, very early. I wouldn't actually blame the goalkeeper for the penalty kick. I think that's the defenders in front of him. But very, very calm. And consider there's a lot of pressure there. It's 0-0. You've had a goal chalked off. But at this point in time, the way the game's gone so far, this could be any result whatsoever for Ecuador, because boy do they look miles ahead at the moment.
Well, he's been in such brilliant form, not just for his country over the years, Enner Valencia, but Fenerbahce this season as well. 15 goals he scored for them. He's the leading scorer in the Turkish top flight this season, and in great form coming into the tournament as well. 4 goals in his last 5 games, and he is carrying on as he has been doing all season. So we're underway. VAR are happy with that one. Muted celebration from Enner Valencia, the clenched fists, the double clenched fists to his teammates. He knows there's a long way to go in this game and in this tournament as well. But 16 minutes played. It is Ecuador who lead by a goal to nil as Qatar come forward just outside the Ecuador penalty area. That's good play, just breaks down for Pedro Miguel. And the ball goes out of play. It will be a goal kick, but what are we? 18 minutes in, that's probably Qatar's best move of the match, other than when they kicked off before the countdown had finished and tried to catch Ecuador out right at the start by lumping it long.
Well, yeah, funnily enough, it started well for the first 10 seconds, but apart from that, they've been setting best in every single part of the field just now, and you wonder how much of that is naivety by the Qatari side, or the fact is, again, with Tim Vickers saying beforehand, this isn't a bad Ecuador side at all. We know a good few of the players, but they are very, very positive. They are very strong. They're a powerful side, but they've got a real belief. I'm not going to call it arrogance yet, but they've got a real belief about them there that they come out to this game and they expect to win this game. If they get another goal just now, I think they can actually almost go in cruise control because they have had that much dominance of the ball.
And they're in possession now, just inside the Qatar half, leading by 1-0. This young side, but it's the experienced man who's got that goal, Valencia, 33 years of age, and as they knock it around their own half, it shows how far Ecuador have come as well. I mean, as we say, long time to go in this game, but the last time they met Qatar was in Doha in 2018. That finished 4-3 to Qatar. Yes, Ecuador had 2 players sent off, one of those Valencia after he'd scored twice incidentally, but that was quite late on, and it was a much more competitive match. Yes, this is a World Cup. Yes, this is competitive rather than a friendly, but this Ecuador side, for good reason, have been tipped by Brazil boss Tite as the World Cup surprise package as they come forward once more through the centre of Stupinian into the penalty area, pulls the ball across. Oh, that was so nearly 2-0. The flag's gone up on the far side. It was a good ball in by a Stupinian, and again Al Sheeb not covering himself in glory there.
I'm going to back a keeper on that one. He's absolutely wiped out there. Ball down the line, it was offside, the assistant referee's got that right, but when it's played into the middle, he's going to have to attack it there. Goalkeeper's pedalling backwards, got himself, but he's wiped out, absolutely wiped out. I'm actually feeling a wee bit sorry for Al Sheeb just now. It's been a hard start to the game. Poor lad, he's a strong lad, he's got back up again now, and considering he couldn't have seen that hit coming. Wow, oh, that's a bad hit, but you know, he's back up again now, and I suppose as you rightly said, that was almost 2, but they were offside from the original cross on the left hand side.
Yeah, they were, and the header from Michael Estrada as well did go over the bar. It was one of those where Al Sheeb had missed it and Estrada is barrelling in and can't direct the header on target, and as Pat says, play rightly called back for offside anyway. But we talk about Valencia, the form that he's in.
Very quickly, they're taking the offside from about 45 yards away from where it took place. Well done, referee.
Yeah, we're underway, and Qatar have given it away. Here is Estrada as Ecuador working inside the penalty area. Very good covering challenge by the young left wing back Homam Ahmed, and Qatar will clear away up towards the halfway line, but they just cannot bring the ball down and get any possession. And Ecuador, that's the second time they played the overhead kick pass. I mean, that one goes straight out of play for a Qatar goal kick, but leading by 1-0, 21 minutes play. But yes, we mentioned the form that Valencia is in. Michael Estrada, Ecuador's leading goal scorer in the World Cup qualifiers, and the eye is drawn to Valencia because of the way that he moves, the intelligence with which he plays, obviously the goal scoring form as well, and player we know from his time in the Premier League. But Estrada is a good foil for him, and as we saw there, can get into useful positions as well, as Ecuador win another free kick.
They're not holding the ball well, the Qataris there. They played the ball back there, and there's a massive sort of diving in tackle there. To be honest, I'm a little bit disappointed there. He's made far too much out of that. He's clipped him slightly. He was rolling about there as if he's never going to get up again, which is an absolute nonsense. The referee spotted it. In the end, he's given a yellow card to, I was going to say, Amliaz Ali, who is one of the most important players, and I would say that may well be the first kick he's had.
Yes, and it didn't even connect with the player.
And it was a kick of the player, that's what he tried.
Yeah, probably harsh, I think, for a yellow card. There wasn't a huge amount of contact there. One of those borderline free kicks, never mind bookings. But Ecuador with this set piece as they play it in, looking for Estrada, cleared away by Qatar. But again, Ecuador win the second ball. Qatar will try and clear it away, but they just can't get hold of it at the moment as it's swung in from the right-hand side. Estrada is in there. Qatar will win that knockdown and clear it up towards halfway, but there's nobody in a maroon shirt up there And this already is turning into a long night for the tournament hosts. Ecuador in possession just inside their own half.
It's kind of tough then, Vicky, because Afif and Ali up front, the two you're wanting, they got to get the ball, they've got to hold the ball. But the way that they're playing just now, they're standing so far off the players that are marking them, and that's Hincapie and Torres. They're just dominating them, completely dominating them. And it may well be part of that, nervousness, uncertainty that they've got. They don't want to be the one that makes the mistake. But the two main players up front, they've got to try somehow get themselves into the game. At the moment, they're not getting any service anyway, so it's a really tough night for them so far.
Here is Estupinian for Ecuador, played forward to Estrada, but poor ball out of play, and Qatar will have a throw. Make sure you join us for our coverage tomorrow of England and Wales as they begin their campaigns at this World Cup on 5 Live and BBC Sounds. We've got Rick Edwards presenting 5 Live Breakfast from Qatar from 6 o'clock. All the build up to the football starts with Mark Chapman from 11. Chris Sutton, Micah Richards, Rob Green, Matt Upson, Dion Dublin, and more across the day as England and Wales begin their campaigns on 5 Live and BBC Sounds tomorrow. Qatar with the throw, trailing by a 1-0, 24 minutes played here at the Al Bats Stadium. And Ecuador win possession back. It's happening too much for Qatar at the moment, but our referee Daniele Ossato of Italy has decided that's a free kick to Qatar, and they will have a set piece just inside their own half. A lot's been made of the heat, what it would be like in Doha. Of course, this originally was slated when Qatar won the bid to be played in the summer. It's been changed to the winter, and we have to say, high up here in the Al Bats Stadium, it's pleasant rather than.
I've got my jacket on. So it's a lovely evening, and a really nice evening for football. Just having a look at what Qatar are having to do, because they're going to have to do something to change it. They can't play out for the back because they're not good enough. They're not good enough to do that. They'll get caught, they'll get done. But if they play it long to two centre backs, two centre forwards, they've been completely outplayed and bullied off the ball. So it must be somehow they've got to get some dominance, some foothold in the midfield.
And they've missed a defensive header. It's good covering at the back by Boulam Kouki. And Ecuador once again will win a set piece, but there's a fragility, isn't there? Every time that Qatari back line gets tested and stretched, you can see Ecuador. It's the decision making as much as anything, isn't it?
Yeah, you sometimes wonder, as soon as a player from the back gives the ball away, most people look at the player who gives the ball away. My eyes immediately go to midfielders and say, right, who wanted it? Have you given them enough options? Have you really put yourself out and taken a chance of getting the ball in the dangerous places in midfield? So partially it's the defenders, but partially the midfielders aren't helping them.
Ball over the top, looking for the run of Valencia, the goal scorer for Ecuador, cleared away by Qatar. Miguel will help it on with a nice little back heel, the right wing back, but it will come straight back at Qatar with Estupinian of Brighton, who goes all the way back to Piero Hincapie, linked with a Premier League move. Big hopes for him, 20-year-old centre-half, plays for Bayern Leverkusen, but has been mentioned in connection with Tottenham and Arsenal. In terms of speculation, plenty of eyes on that young man as Ecuador come down the right-hand side. They're worried about the offside there, Ecuador, and try and leave it for a teammate to come on the overlap who isn't offside, but in the end Qatar defend that well and force the ball out for a throw on the far side. Qatar 0, Ecuador 1 on 5 Live, 26 minutes gone.
I'm really enjoying the play of the right full-back for the Ecuadorian just now, Preciado. You mentioned his overhead kick a few moments ago, and he's got that incredible energy. He's one of those full-backs, he doesn't really want to be there. He wants to be up the pitch as often as possible, and he looks like a guy, although full-back, he would dribble around 3 or 4 as well, but a powerful player, and he's already one of the players that's caught my eye in this Ecuadorian side, but there's been a few.
And they're coming down the left-hand side once more. Ecuador with Ibarra, cleared away by Qatar, out of play for an Ecuador throw. No stranger to a bit of controversy as well, Angelo Preciado. There's a remarkable video online of him defending himself with a corner flag when he was chased by virtually the entire opposing team for an incident that had happened on the pitch, and he ran over to the corner, ripped the flag out of the ground and held it almost like a spear to keep.
Do you know what? The way he's playing just now, that is no shock whatsoever. I mean, every single tackle is a dive-in tackle. The energy levels are fantastic, and I'll get back to you in 2 minutes. He reminds me of someone. I'll get back to you in that in a minute.
Pat Nevin with us here this evening on 5 Live and BBC Sounds, as Ecuador, who lead by a 1-0, are in possession with Felix Torres. Out to the left-hand side, and Hincape, his fellow centre-half. And now here is Estupinian, but Ecuador happy to knock the ball around as their yellow-clad supporters behind the goal that they're defending sit and watch. And the noise inside the stadium, it's one of the things we were talking about in the build-up to this one, is being provided by that red bank of Qatari supporters jumping up and down. They're all in a strip down to the left-hand side. In the lower tier, you have Qatari fans clad in white either side of them, and then there's a big, it's almost a wall bouncing up and down, chanting songs and trying to rouse their team as Ecuador come forward once again. Miscued shot from the edge of the penalty area goes high into those bouncing fans, and it will be a Qatar goal kick. Ecuador leading by that Valencia penalty. 28 minutes gone.
Update and Preciado, who reminds me of, it's Marcelo from, but on the right back area there. But when he played for Brazil, and obviously when he played for Real Madrid, getting forward, loves the tackle, really talented on the ball. I think like Marcelo, you're very, very happy just to keep 11 players at bay with a corner flag.
Qatar have won a free kick. Pedro Miguel, who's had a couple of impressive moments there, right wing back bursting over the halfway line, and a yellow card out very quickly for Brighton's Moises Caicedo. He's one of these referees, isn't he, Daniele Orsato? He makes decisions if he's going to book you, you better be paying attention, because the yellow card is out within a split second.
I mean, it's incredibly harsh. I mean, if it's the first game of a tournament, it could be a long tournament, and you're already giving tightrope walks to a number of players for what aren't vicious tackles. By the way, there have been 3 or 4 tackles in this game already where I think a yellow card would absolutely have been acceptable. But the ones he's pulled out his yellow card for, I'm not happy. I don't think they are. Apart, it has to be said, for Al-Shib, no argument there.
Ball goes out of play for an Ecuador throw on the right-hand side. Midway inside their own half, leading by a 1-0. Yes, 2 yellows in different games at this World Cup. Is a one-match ban. The yellows are wiped after the quarter-finals, so we've had 3 in this match already. 2 for Qatar, 1 for Caicedo of Ecuador, as Qatar try and clear the ball away. Hassan's clearance, though, is straight into a yellow shirt, and the second follow-up clearance is straight out of play. So Ecuador with the throw. Ecuador, who I think could be a really intriguing story at this World Cup. We've mentioned how the Brazil boss Tite has tipped them to be one of the surprise packages. They are the 4th lowest ranked side at this World Cup. However, when they began South American qualifiers, there was only 1 side ranked lower than them out of the 10 South American teams for this World Cup qualifying. That was Bolivia, and they managed to get through and take that final South American qualifying spot behind.
Let another one go.
And they've got space coming forward now. Here is Caicedo, might try and work room to shoot. Plays it forward. It will bounce away off Huki, but Caicedo will pick it up, forced out to the right-hand side. The ball is swung in, and the header is in! It's Ener Valencia once again, and Ecuador lead by 2-0. He had a header ruled out early on in this match. This one just as powerful. This one puts Ecuador 2-0 up against Qatar.
A fantastic header. There's a lot to do there. It's a long way out, but it was a brilliant ball in. A fantastic play up the right-hand side, and it came back to it's Seattle, of course. He put a phenomenal ball in with plenty of pace, and that's the deal, isn't it? When you put it in from very, very wide, right-hand side in, you've got to whip it. He has whipped it in towards that back post, and it goes to Valencia there. He's had to really put a lot of effort in, twisted the neck muscles, but put it down towards the goalkeepers, and have a little look at it. He's definitely offside. Far side left back, keeping them on side. So the referee and VR will have a look at it, but I don't think there's much doubt about that. I think that's 2-0.
It's a great header, isn't it? It's the power he gets on it as well, but because he's having to adjust his body as he comes in, it flies over the head of Estrada. But Ener Valencia gets that just inside that post, twisting his body in the air, and you have to say, on that occasion, there's nothing else she can do about it.
No, there's no. I mean, not going to complain about keeper for that one, but it certainly looked to me as if they were beginning to waver a little bit. And I think obviously the coaching has been good for Ecuador, because what they said there, even though there are 3 centre backs, it's a weak area. They're not marking well. They're giving far too much space to good players, it has to be said. But on top of that, you play a 4-4-2, get the balls in the box, and they've done that.
Qatar trying to get the ball into the box here. It will bounce and will be cleared away by Ibarra. Miguel was there lurking, the Qatari right wing back, but Ecuador do manage to play it away. Boudiaf will pick it up for Qatar, who are enjoying a rare spell of possession as they're urged to let fly from range. Well, that would have been pretty impressive from Abdel Karim Hassan, 30 yards out, high into those yellow-clad Ecuadorian fans behind the goal. Their team lead by 2-0, 33 minutes played.
It would have been impressive if he was at Twickenham. Sadly, he's not. he's here in Doha, and that was an awful finish, that. I mean, it shouldn't be that difficult to get a ball on target, but just showing another replay of that header there, and it was a cracker. What a lovely start for Valencia. It could have been difficult because if the goal cancelled out, etc. But he's on fire at the moment, and don't want to get too carried away, but I wonder who'll get the golden boot this time.
Well, he's off to a good start, as are Ecuador, as Estrada wins a free kick just inside the Qatar half. Now, Gareth Southgate has been speaking to the media ahead of England's opener tomorrow, and he has confirmed that England will take the knee ahead of their match. It is what we stand for as a team, says Gareth Southgate, and have done for a period of time. We feel this is the biggest occasion and a strong statement that will go around the world. So confirmation that England will take the knee tomorrow as they begin their World Cup journey.
Just a moment there, Pedro Miguel went in for a challenge there. The referee said it was an undeliberate one. That is by a million miles the worst challenge of the game so far. Yellow bordering on orange, close to red, and the referee said no, that was unexpected. I'm not sure the referee's got everything right in this game, but it kind of doesn't matter. The score's correct. Yep,
2-0 to Ecuador, both goals for Valencia. And Ecuador with a set piece, which have really put Qatar in some difficulties as they send it to the edge of the penalty area. Qatar do get the header away. It's brought down by Plata. He's dispossessed, and Qatar will try and break. Over on the far side, though, is Preciado, and he will send it all the way back to Hernan Galindez. Galindez, as he clears the ball away from Akram Afif, has had absolutely nothing to do. I think that's
the first thing you've mentioned his name, actually.
Other than the team use. Well, he's got a name check now. As Ecuador lead by 2-0. Qatar can't hold on to it with Al Haydos, their captain, but they will win it back, and Hassan will send it poorly all the way back to Al Sheeb, who's done well to keep that in there. The goalkeeper, all clad in light blue, sends it up to the halfway line. It will be allowed to bounce by Hincapié, and Ecuador will bring it away, leading by 2-0. The Stupinian under pressure goes back to Hernan Galindez. There you go, two mentions.
Yeah,
for their
but
goalkeeper.
He's only kicking the ball. It's only passed back to him. The times now it's getting played. The sensibly the Qataris are playing the ball up to the centre forwards, hoping that the ball can stick there. They're just getting pushed off the ball and bullied off the ball, and slightly wimpily tried to get a free kick there. On that occasion, the referee's not. That was a thief went down for it there. You're looking at there and you think, what do? Do you go to a back four, add a little bit more power in midfield? Well, I don't know if the centre backs are good enough to go for a back four. Again, another yellow card.
Yeah, free kick to Ecuador inside the centre circle.
I think the referee got that one right. I don't think there's any.
Yeah, the yellow card picked up by Qatar's Karim Boudiaf. And that is a clear clattering, isn't it?
And a stupid one as well. I mean, you don't need to go in there. You're the centre midfield player. You're the man who's actually supposed to stop, the team dropping into that area, the dangerous area where the second goal or the penalty kick came from, and you're just giving away a free kick in the middle of the pathway when there's no danger whatsoever, and also giving away a yellow card as well. That is nothing more than pure frustration. It makes you wonder, is this game going to finish off 11v11? Because it doesn't feel like it at the moment.
Well, it didn't last time these sides met. Ecuador were down to 9 players in that 4-3 defeat back in 2018, but they are very much in control here. Just talking about the style of Qatar and what they can change. I mean, if you look at what Felix Sanchez was saying in terms of setting expectations for this tournament in terms of that style, he said, we can't take initiative, Qatar. We can't try and do that and try and be the hero in games if we want to be competitive. The aim is to be compact defensively and be clinical with chances. Well, so far, in all honesty, neither of those are really going to plan. But we've talked about Afif and Ali up front for Qatar. When they get the ball and when they can link up, they can cause opposing teams problems, although the problem for Qatar is Ecuador haven't conceded in their last 6 matches, but they're just not seeing any of the ball at the moment. You can't be clinical with chances if you don't get them.
The big thing about strikers, and they are a duo up front, because it is a 5-3-2 that the Qataris are playing. If you are a duo up front, you need to work together. Don't think they've actually passed the ball to each other yet. And again, it's not that they're not trying. I just think they look as if they're a level below need to be at the moment. You just got to be honest about it and say, at the moment, now that may change and they might grow into the game, they might grow into the tournament, but at the moment they've just not been anywhere close to physical enough at this level.
So Ecuador with the set piece, leading by 2-0. That one is easy for Al-Sheeb, straight into the gloves of the Qatari goalkeeper. Yes, when you look at the rest of Group A, we talk about how Qatar might go into the tournament, but this is I hate the phrase must win. I hate it when there's a group with 3 games, but you've got the Netherlands, you've got Senegal, the reigning African champions, you've got Ecuador, you've got Qatar in Group A.
I think the phrase is allegedly the most winnable game. And allegedly, and I'm saying that now because Ecuador have actually started so well at the moment, but it's going to be very, very difficult. But then Senegal, they've not had their troubles to seek recently.
Ball is lost on the right hand side for Qatar, and Ecuador will play it in field. Leading by 2-0 here on 5 Live and BBC Sounds. And this is nicely worked as Valencia picks it up on the left hand side. Well challenged, forced away from the penalty area by Bassam Al-Rawi. And Al-Rawi does well there to win the free kick as well. And Valencia on the hat-trick, having scored both goals this evening in this World Cup opener, and having scored all 3 goals at World Cup 2014. It's a tournament he enjoys. Yeah, he seems to
absolutely love it. He started on fire, and the physicality was obvious as well, but his movement was good, and I think he's enjoyed having a player up front alongside him. It kind of works, it helps, it creates a little bit of space for him. Had he been playing up alone himself, it may have been that much more difficult when they played their normal 4-3-3. But that's what the coaches are paid for, to look at where the problems are, look at the opposition and say, how can we hurt them? And he's nailed it so far today.
6 minutes to play until half-time at the Al Bayt Stadium. Ecuador lead Qatar by 2-0 as Qatar try and make headway down the left-hand side, can't do so, and it will be an Ecuador goal kick. Just talking there about how Qatar's front 2 of Akram Afif and Almoez Ali haven't been able to link up play. You saw that there, Akram Afif dropping back so deep, almost into that defensive midfield position, just to get involved and to try and spring one of these attacks for Qatar. He is one of their most technical, one of their most accomplished players, and he knows that if they can't play it out from the back, Qatar, if they can't play through that midfield, he needs to go back and try and bring that ball forward.
Absolutely. And just again, we mentioned right at the start of the game, the players that look confident, look as if the fearfulness that is in 1 or 2 of those players. I'm actually seeing it much more clearly now, and maybe expecting a little bit more from Hassan, the number 3 there. He looks timid. But here's a chance now.
Here is a chance for Akram Afif out on the left-hand side, and you can hear the Al Bayt Stadium rise in anticipation, and you can hear the groans of disappointment as Ecuador managed to dispossess him, but he'll pick it up once more, plays it in. Qatar trying to build around the Ecuador penalty area, but the final ball is poor, and it's behind for an Ecuador goal kick. And at the moment, there is precious little for Qatar to cheer about, trailing by 2-0 here on 5 Live.
Well, you can tell the fans are desperate to get excited about anything, because when they get the ball under control 40 yards out, they're very, very excitable. But the thing is, they don't keep it under control for very long. And also say, the Ecuadorians have been brilliant at closing down, haven't they? They've done high presses, they've pressed really well in the midfield. I don't think they're up against the most technical players they've ever played against. It's not as if they're playing against Brazil here technically, so they know if they close down, they'll get the ball played back to them, and they've done it very, very well, whatever they've done in the field so far.
Qatar in possession on the halfway line. Yes, that was always going to be the question about Qatar, wasn't it? Their first World Cup, they've never played at this level before. Yes, they were surprise winners of the Asian Cup back in 2019, the first major tournament they've won in their history. A huge achievement for this footballing side. Yes, they've been on a training camp for 5 months, they know each other inside out, but can they take the step up that's required? They are coming down the left-hand side once more. Good covering challenge by Ecuador's right back, Preciado. And Qatar have a throw as time ticks towards half-time. 3 minutes to play in this first half. Qatar 0, Ecuador 2.
Oh, that's a bit of a worry. Is that Valencia has gone down? I'm just trying to see. Yes, it was. Oh, he's hyperextended his knee. It wasn't even a foul there. He's just trying to put a tackle in, but he's got himself off balance. His foot was planted, and his knee is kind of. I mean, it's one of those ones where he might rub it and it might be okay after 10 minutes, or it could be one where he strained his lateral ligament in his knee, and he stayed down. He's not moved, which is never a good sign.
Yeah, and the Ecuadorian medical staff are on, and he looks pretty distressed, Enner Valencia, and I think that might be frustration and disappointment as much as anything else. We hope this is something that isn't as serious in terms of his tournament as it looks. The stretcher is coming on. I mean, that often is a precaution if a player's down. But Ecuador's medical staff are on. They're treating their captain, their record goal scorer, now their record scorer at World Cups as well, with his 2 goals this evening.
He's taking his time. He's doing the right thing. He's taking his time. The referee's getting a little bit officious, saying get off. Had he seen what had actually happened there in slow motion, we have a replay in front of us in our monitors here, he had planted his foot. He was off balance slightly, and because of that, he's twisted his knee. It's one of those ones that we really won't know. I mean, we're getting towards a half-time sort of period now. Just get off. Get a little bit of ice on it, see if it stiffens up over half-time. It may well be that 2-0 up. And just think, well, maybe we've done enough now. Go back to a 4-3 and see this game out and see if he's okay for the next game and get him off the field. We'll see.
Well, he has walked off the pitch, Enner Valencia, which is positive. But as Pat says, we are almost into added time at the end of this first half. Ecuador temporarily down to 10. But it's something that they'll hope to get through to half-time and properly analyse that injury to their captain, who scored twice on the night to give Ecuador this 2-0 lead.
He's going to hobble back on again, and I just don't know how sensible that is. He might not know there's only a minute or so to go.
So Qatar in possession. Hobble back on. He's come on pretty quickly, Enner Valencia. So hopefully that means he's all right. It does just give them that extra body on the pitch. He's moving okay at the moment, Enner Valencia, as Estupinian wins it back for Ecuador in the defensive left-back position. And Ecuador will try and build down this left-hand side. Nice little back heel will win the throw for Ecuador as well. And they lead by 2-0. And we are waiting to see the added time ended on at the end of this first half.
It says 45 minutes is gone, and we've not seen. He's got another 6 seconds. It's okay. He's got another 6 seconds.
So here we go. 5 minutes at a time. We have had a couple of stoppages. We've had the penalty as well. The VAR check for Ecuador's first goal, which was disallowed. So 2-0. The scoreline is as Qatar win it back just inside their own half. It's been a better 10 minutes or so from Qatar, but they are just struggling so much to get near the Ecuador penalty area. They have won a free kick though over on the far side. Ahmed going down, getting things moving quickly.
Judging by his reaction when he was rolling about there is absolutely nothing wrong with him. But the referee's given the free kick, those extra 5 minutes, and what Qatar wouldn't give to get a chance or a goal here. No shots on target, no corner kicks, very few opportunities to get touches in the 18-yard line as well. So it's really, really tough for him. But the possession stats, we'll have a look at the possession stats here. 42%. Mostly in their own half. Shows you what stats can do.
Indeed, because it has been a very comfortable performance for Ecuador so far. But it's Qatar in possession as we're into 5 minutes of added time. Ecuador leading by 2-0 here on 5 Live and BBC Sounds. Qatar have the ball in the centre circle, just knocking it around, and at some point you would expect them, even though Felix Sanchez has warned their manager that they can't play the hero, to try and at least get the ball forward and fashion this shot. But they know what team they are. He knows their capabilities. He's worked in Qatari football for so long, first with the youngsters in 2006, joining the Aspire Academy as a former Qatar under-19, under-23 coach, senior coach since July 2017. He knows what these players are capable of. He knows how to play to their strengths. They need to find something in the second half against Ecuador as they approach half-time.
They're trying it just now, Vicky. They're trying both of their wing-backs. They've really pushed on a lot further in the last 5 or 10 minutes. Now, they've not got the ball out to Pedro Miguel on the right-hand side here at all, but he's trying to do that. Now, if you're playing with a back five, when you get the ball, it's imperative, as I say that, Miguel gets the ball just now, and that's what you need to do. If you're playing it back, they're the most important players in your team, and as I say that, the far side gets it as well. They're now beginning to play the way you're supposed to play with wing-backs, but it's taken them 45 minutes.
And Ecuador have won it on the right-hand side, leading by 2-0, and they've won the free kick as well, just inside the Qatar half. All the build-up for you to England and Wales beginning their campaigns on 5 Live and BBC Sounds tomorrow. We've got coverage from 6 a.m. with Rick Edwards, live from Qatar. All the build-up with Mark Chapman from 11 a.m. And do remember to download the World Cup Daily as well. World Cup reaction, debate and analysis all through the tournament. You can search for that on BBC Sounds. And if you're interested as well in the wider issues around this World Cup, you can go back and listen to our coverage from today, a piece on Gianni Infantino's comments made in that FIFA press conference yesterday. Just search for Qatar on BBC Sounds if you'd like to catch up on that. Here at the Al Bayt Stadium, it's Ecuador who lead by 2-0, deep into added time at the end of this first half. And Ecuador it is who have the ball just outside their own penalty area as they look to play forwards once more. And Enner Valencia has not had too much to do since coming back on, but seems to be moving relatively freely. Of course, they will think him over in detail at half-time.
You made a good point there. When he went down and said, like, there's sort of the injuries that you have no idea when you go down, because you think if that's torn any of the ligament at all, you could be out. How could you be finished? So you were really quite panicked early on. But he must have known by the time he was over there, because you wouldn't come back on at that point in time if you were really concerned about it after the first game in the World Cup and make it worse. So it looks as if it's good news for the Ecuadorians.
Qatar with the throw over on the far side. Yeah, you certainly wouldn't come back on as well and take up your natural position. You know, we see players come on just to be an extra body, but that's normally at the end of games when you're trying to hold on to a lead. Like you say, Ecuador comfortable in this match. No need to risk it with their star man. It's Qatar in possession with Hassan driving in field, stopped on the halfway line, fouled just as he got to the halfway line, and it will be a free kick to Qatar. And Pat Nevin,
give that man an Oscar. It's one of those. We're going to have a look at it again here, and it's just he's just falling over. He's rolling about as if he's in a war movie. Anyway, he's got the free kick.
And Qatar are coming forward with Miguel. He plays it out to the right-hand side. And Al-Haydos, oh, what a chance in the centre for Al-Muez Ali. Qatar's best move of the match. Free header, 6 yards out, and he's headed wide. And that is the last action of the half. My word, that could have put a different complexion on this game. But it's been missed by one of their star men. And at half-time, it's Ecuador who lead by 2-0. Pat Nevin.
Yeah, down the right-hand side. Finally using the wing-backs that we were talking about there. If you're going to play that system, you've got to make sure that the wing-backs get the ball and deliver some good balls in. I'll be brutally honest with you. I think he was offside in the middle. But it would have been nice to see him if he'd have got it on target. But that's what they wanted. The ball to fall into exactly that man. It did. 6 yards out with a header on goal. He's left his lines.
Well, possibly a sliver of hope there for Qatar. Yes, it didn't go in the back of the net. Yes, as Pat Nevin says, it might have been offside. But that's the first time at the end of this half they got the better of that Ecuador defence. Can they do it in the second half, or is this going to continue overall to be comfortable for Ecuador, who've looked good half-time at the Al Bayt Stadium? It's Qatar 0, Ecuador 2.
Vicky, thank you very much. Pat, what a one-sided first half of World Cup football.
Absolutely. It got a tiny wee bit better for the home side just after about 30 minutes or so, but I think that was as much as the Ecuadorians taking the foot off the gas to some degree. We came into it a little bit because they had nothing to lose, but this looks close to a mismatch at the moment. Now, you don't want to dive in too early and say it's a mismatch because of quality. There was a fearfulness about the home side. The Qataris didn't look as if they believed in themselves, or certainly a number of the players didn't look as if they believed in themselves. And maybe that those months together have had a negative effect. Sometimes they can be positive, sometimes they can be negative, and they do not look as if they're playing anywhere close to their best. But on the other side of it, Ecuador, very good team, very strong, good belief in themselves, and they asked all the right questions, and they got it tactically and technically right as well. So at this point in time, 2-0 up, it's hard to see a way back, but we almost did in the last seconds there. If they'd have scored that goal there, got it back to 2-1, you never know. Football's a strange game, but at the moment, from what I've seen, Ecuador look very, very good. Qatar look very, very average.
On the strangeness of football, Bindle on Twitter says this was the most offside goal I've ever seen. This is the goal that would have put Ecuador ahead really early in the game, within the first couple of minutes. Dale Johnson on ESPN, who is the VAR guru, said this is what happened with the disallowed goal. The ball came off Felix Torres, who was challenging the keeper. It fell to Michael Estrada, whose foot you can see in an offside position. He headed the ball back to Torres, so it was the correct VAR decision. Feel free to argue amongst yourself if you're listening at home about the rules themselves, but the laws of the game as they were applied in this situation were correct. That's your interpretation as well, isn't it, Pat?
It's my interpretation. Funnily enough, it was the first words I said afterwards. Was it from the initial cross? I'll tell you what, good luck to anyone who actually spotted that in real time from the initial cross, because it was bordering on impossible to see, and it also depended on his foot being beyond the goalkeeper. So absolutely right. Now the complaint I've got, and it is a complaint I've got, we've got a feed here, it might not be the right feed, didn't show us any replays, so it's almost impossible for us to tell. Then 10 minutes later they show you the kind of, the technical, almost cartoon version of it, which doesn't help you at all, because you don't know where it actually happened. So, look, trust in the VAR on this occasion.
There is an issue with seeing the right pictures and to try and work it out for people watching at home, for people watching in the stadium. I think it's even worse in that sense, because most people in there, if you're not in the media seats, won't have that feed and won't be able to watch that replay. They just see the decision as it's given. So that's one side of the sort of Twitter debate and the social media debate at the moment, is whether or not that goal was offside. As it stands, it's largely irrelevant, because Ecuador are leading Qatar by 2-0 at half-time. We'll be back for the second half with Pat and Vicky. Stephen Warnock is also with us. The other side of the debate on Twitter is just how bad Qatar are, Stevens. Christian said this Qatar side wouldn't be competitive in League 2. Paddy said they'd struggle in National League North or South. Aidan on Twitter said Qatar were by far the worst team in the original FIFA on Sega Mega Drive, and they don't seem to have improved much. Can we read too much into your sweepstake team Ecuador from this performance?
I bought a shirt online at half-time, leading into half-time, Kelly. I'm very happy with my sweepstake, but they're just not physically, they're way off it. Technically, they're not at the level, but you can see the speed in which the Ecuador players are moving across the pitch, the way they're closing Qatar down. It's too easy for them, and as Pat said in his commentary there, they don't have the technical ability to be able to get hold of the ball and move up the pitch. So I think it's going to be a real struggle for them. Maybe, I know Tim Vickery spoke before the game about being forced into playing two wide men and midfielders. I just wonder whether that was tactical as well, knowing that they were playing three at the back with the wing backs. They've exploited that. They've made it very difficult. They probably knew that they didn't need an extra player within the midfield, because they aren't good enough. So you can take that gamble against a team like Qatar. So it's been far too easy. Ecuador will be delighted with this as an almost a warm-up game to go into the World Cup.
Alex on social media made the point, I like tactically organised and disciplined teams. I'm not a fan at all of defenceless, cavalier style of football, but this Qatar side literally do nothing but park the bus from the first second of every game. Easily the most negative team I ever saw by a mile, and I'm scratching my head trying to think that chance that looked as though it was probably offside as well at the very end of the first half might have been their only chance of the game, from what I can remember, Stephen.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the big issues, isn't it? They just haven't created anything, and at the end of the game they get that opportunity, but they don't have that quality to finish it off. We spoke before about the competitive nature of needing games going into this, and we spoke about that 6 months absence of not playing competitive football, and then you go into a game like this. But the golfing class is so apparent, and it is a real concern for obviously for Qatar, and how do they change it going into the second half?
Yeah, Pat was very early on in this game saying that Ecuador might just run away with it. They're already 2-0 up. It's half-time in the opening match of this 2022 World Cup. It's Qatar 0, Ecuador 2. More from Stephen Warnock throughout the evening. Pat Nevin and Vicky Sparks, your commentary team out in Doha, and we will be back to them very shortly for the start of the second half. Before that, though, it's the BBC News with Stuart Clarkson.
Take the World Cup with you. Qatar 2022
on BBC Sounds. This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
Thank you, Kelly. And away from the World Cup, police in Nottingham have begun a murder investigation after 2 young children died in a fire at a flat. It happened in the early hours of this morning in the Clifton area. A woman was also critically injured. We're told that the children were aged 3 and 1. Police in Colorado say a gunman who's suspected of killing 5 people at a gay nightclub is under arrest in hospital. The Q Club in Colorado Springs says it's devastated by what it called a hate attack. The local police chief is Adrian Vasquez.
Initial evidence and interviews indicate that the suspect entered Club Q and immediately began shooting at people inside as he moved further into the club. While the suspect was inside of the club, at least 2 heroic people inside the club confronted and fought with the suspect and were able to stop the suspect from continuing to kill and harm others. We owe them a great debt of thanks.
The site of the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant in Ukraine has once again been shelled. Both Ukraine and Russia have blamed each other for the attack. The UN's nuclear watchdog has said the news is very disturbing, but so far the situation is not critical. The United Nations Climate Summit's ended with a landmark deal for developing countries, but disappointment that there was no commitment to further cuts in greenhouse gases. Negotiators at the COP27 in Egypt agreed to set up a fund to help poorer nations deal with damage caused by climate change. Dr. Sachendra Prasad is Fiji's ambassador to the UN.
It is long overdue. It completes the troika that is needed to respond to climate action. The troika is that all countries need to be supported to undertake mitigation action, and then those areas where you can adapt should be undertaking adaptation.
And Labour's announced plans to abolish the House of Lords. It would be replaced with a new reformed upper chamber. Sir Keir Starmer says in the first term of a Labour government, he would strip politicians of the power to appoint new peers.
For 7 decades,
thousands of songs
have soundtracked the lives of generations of us.
But there's only ever been
one official countdown,
marking the 70th birthday of the UK's official singles chart.
We're playing the most streamed number ones
from 1952 to 2022.
That's 7 playlists bursting with hits, compiled by the official charts company exclusively for BBC Sounds. The UK's official most streamed songs.
To listen, open BBC Sounds, tap music,
and play most streamed chart. BBC 5 Live.
The FIFA World Cup, Qatar 2022 with Kelly Cates.
Hello and welcome back to Doha, where it's half-time in the opening match of the Qatar 2022 World Cup. Qatar are trailing Ecuador by 2-0 at this stage of the match. Second half commentary coming up for you very shortly. And then at 6:30 tonight, it's 6:06 with Robbie Savage and Chris Sutton. And Robbie is with us now. How are the nerves holding up for the Wales match tomorrow, Robbie?
Oh, it's a big one, Kels, isn't it, for Wales? I don't think they can lose that game. I think a draw would be acceptable. They both got to play Iran. Iran are decent on 6:06 last night. A lot of people writing Iran off, but they are 20th in the rankings. It's going to be a tough game, but this game for Wales tomorrow, no Joe Allen, obviously, which is huge. It's going to be a tough game, but I think it's a game that we cannot lose. That first game, listen, who am I to know about a World Cup? But the first game, you cannot lose it. And if Wales lose this, I think they'll go along, find it hard to qualify.
Yeah, and then it will start to get very nervous. But Rob Page says Wales are determined to prove people wrong in Qatar.
You look at England and USA, and naturally people will be talking about them as the top 2, and ourselves in Iran then. But we know on our day, we've proven in the Nations League against Belgium, against a very good Dutch team, that we can more than compete as well. So we're new to the tournament, and there might be a few surprises along the way. So there's no pressure on us. We're going to enjoy it, but we're going to compete. And I said to the group, I've said before in the press, we're not here to make the numbers up. We're here because we've earned the right to be here. We're a good team, and I want to go and show the world now how good we are.
Real confidence from Rob Page and a sort of bullishness about the quality within his squad. But losing, you mentioned it there, Robbie, the Welsh Yabby, Joe Allen, not being part of that game. How much of a difference does that make for Wolves?
Yeah,
for Wales.
For Wolves, it makes a big difference for Wolves.
Wolves are going to really struggle without Joe Allen.
At the bottom of the league, Wolves, get Joe Allen in the January transfer window, you might still.
Could turn it round.
It's huge because ball retention, and there was a caller on 606 last night and said if Wales, can't stick the heat, go home, which was like absolute nonsense. So ball retention will be key. He was a massive part of that. But listen, we've got a good squad, as Rob Page said. Chris Sutton, in his prediction, said Wales will finish 4th in the group. We know what Chris... I don't think Chris is in a position to talk about international football, to be fair, but he did. So we're really looking forward to it. In England, the thing last night, can England win the World Cup? I think Chris was saying last night a quarter-final would be okay. Okay. And another England fan, Kel, said, why not play the fringe players against Iran? I'm not sure you can do that.
No, they're already being seen as, sort of dark horse of the tournament, Iran, one of those teams that within the top 20 of world football in terms of the rankings, even if you don't fully subscribe to the kind of value of the rankings, it's still maybe a trickier fixture than a lot of people expect for England. But Robbie, looking forward to that. 6:30 then for 606 08085 909 693, or you can
fast start if he's to turn this final around.
Thank you, Jamie. In the WSL, Emma Hayes was back in the dugout for the first time since early October after recovering from surgery to see her Chelsea side beat Tottenham 3-0 at a sold-out Stamford Bridge, and they go to the top of the table. Elsewhere, Liverpool scored a 92nd minute equaliser as they came from 3-1 down to draw 3-3 at Brighton. Rachel Daly scored a hat-trick in Aston Villa's 3-1 win over Reading, and West Ham beat Leicester by 1-0. At the World Cup here in Doha, it is Qatar 0, Ecuador 2 at half-time in the opening match of the competition. And your commentary team at the stadium for you for the second half, Pat Nevin and Vicky Sparks.
Thanks, Kelly. The players back out on the pitch, and the good news for Ecuador is that their double goal scorer on the night, their captain, their leading goal scorer of all time, and at World Cups now as well, Eder Valencia, is back out on the pitch, leading the team out after picking up that knock towards the end of the first half. And we have to say, Pat, for Ecuador and also for this spectacle, it's great news because Valencia's been top-notch tonight.
Yeah, he's been brilliant. Again, we were talking about at half-time there. The physicality's been far too much for the opposition. But it's not just that. It's not just brute force. His movement's been good. Finish has been excellent. And he's been a thorn on the side. But he's not the only one. Every single position in the park. And classically, I'm looking at that Qatar side, and I don't think one player in that Qatar side could get into the Ecuador side. And that's a hell of a difference in two teams.
Well, Qatar have 45 minutes to find at least 2 goals if they want to avoid being the first host country to lose the opening game. It will be Ecuador to get us underway, playing in all yellow, Qatar in their maroon strip, and Ecuador playing from left to right, leading by 2-0. Are they to be one of the dark horses at this World Cup? It's a question that we won't be able to answer until much deeper, because Qatar have not provided a stiff test so far as the ball goes out of play for a Qatar throw. No changes at half-time, so we'll take you through the lineups in a moment. But we have to say, if you're looking for any positives from a Qatari football fan perspective, they did have that chance. It might have been offside, but they did have that chance right at the end of that half with Almoez Ali, one of their star men, free header from the edge of the 6-yard box. He nodded it wide. Is that what Felix Sanchez, their manager, will have focused on at half-time?
I think possibly to try and do that, because you need to find some positives from somewhere. And whether I'm going to keep an eye and see if he does, a little adaptation of it technically, because tactically, all worked against him. He's been outthought by his opposition manager. So, are they capable of pushing it a little bit higher up the field? They've certainly started that way.
And Akram Afif has won it for Qatar. The ball forwards is cut out though by Ecuador, but Qatar have it back with Boudiaf in the centre of midfield. And now here is one of their 3 central defenders, Huki. And they'll just knock it around at the back. But they're starting the second half as they ended the first pack with their wing-backs very high up. And they do have possession inside the Ecuador half. Here is Akram Afif, one of those star players, trying to find his strike partner, Almoez Ali. Ecuador will clear away, but Qatar almost win it back. Win the header on halfway as well as Ecuador put on the pressure. It's stolen away by Chickson Mendes of Ecuador. And now Ecuador off down the left-hand side with Romario Ibarra. Plays it in centrally. Here is Valencia on a hat-trick, goes down, nothing given by the referee Daniele Ossato of Italy, and it's all the way back with Al-Sheeb in the Qatar goal. So Qatar with Al-Sheeb in goal. The back 5 of Miguel, who's looked good when he's got on the ball, the right wing back, Al-Rawi, Huki, Hassan and Ahmed. That's their back 5. Ahead of them it's Hatem, Boudiaf and the captain Al-Haydos, with Almoez Ali and Akram Afif, their 2 star players up front as they knock it around outside their own penalty area. Ecuador with Galindez in goal, the back 4 of Preciado, who's impressed Pat Neville alongside me this evening. Torres, Hincapié and Estupinian of Brighton. His Brighton teammate, Caicedo, Mendes and Plata make up the midfield with Ibarra and Estrada and Valencia, who scored the 2 goals this evening, up front here on 5 Live and BBC Sounds, as Qatar will win the free kick on halfway. What do you do then if you're Felix Sanchez?
Well, hopefully he has to put a little higher tempo, close down up the field if he can possibly do that. But he knows fine well that if he tries to do that and push up as much as he possibly can, which he has done, you're right, the wing backs are miles up there. They're playing as wingers just now. It's a slightly different system, but it's a back 3 that looked shaky when they had help. Now they ain't got any help, so you got to take a chance. You might as well take a chance, because as I say, if you lose this game and you're Qatar and you've got the Senegalese and the Dutch waiting for you, it's not looking good. So they'll go out and have a little bit of a go and try and give their fans something to cheer.
They are in possession on the halfway line. The ball forward, though, has too much on it and will be watched behind by Hernan Galindez. If we're counting, I think that's his 3rd mention this evening. But it's one of those that we know as well how devastating going forward Ecuador's fullbacks are. So if you leave the gaps, then it's something that Ecuador will say thank you very much on the counter-attack. That's certainly an area in which we can hurt you.
But if you're 2-0 down, you probably haven't got a choice unless you're going for damage limitation, which would seem silly when you've waited 12 years and you've got together for 5 months and you need to have some sort of go. But we find out as this game goes on and the rest of this half goes on, is it because they're not being brave enough, or is it because they're technically not good enough?
Here come Ecuador. Ibarra dispossessed on the edge of the penalty area, and it's all the way back to Al-Sheeb. Yes, we've mentioned that 5-month training camp that Qatar's national players have been on. They have played a lot of friendlies in that time, so it's not just been training together. They have won their last 5, in fact, but they've been against sides like Nicaragua, Guatemala, Honduras, Panama, Albania. That's all since the beginning of October, and that was always the conversation within Qatari football circles, was it the best idea to arrange those sort of friendlies against that lower level of opposition, in truth, or to release the players back to their domestic clubs and get them playing in the Qatari league where they're would normally be plying their trade as the ball goes out of play for an Ecuador throw.
You only know the answer afterwards. I mean, one of the big things is you don't want to destroy the confidence of the players as you're building up, and if they're getting beat not week in, week out, but in each of the international games against the opposition that's too strong, then, they're going to come in with no belief whatsoever. So there's not an obvious right answer until afterwards and you find out. And then at the moment, the one thing you'd expect from the Qataris, with that amount of time together, you'd expect a level of cohesion, of understanding, of good passing together. They haven't had that. But again, remind yourself, they are playing against a good team, and that's as much to do with the quality of the opposition as their inability.
And here come Ecuador with Ibarra down the left-hand side. The yellow shirts arriving in the penalty area. The pullback from Ibarra was poor, and it allows Hassan to come out of defence and clear that ball away, and it will be a Qatar throw as well over on that far side in field to Bouriaf. He plays it back to the edge of his own penalty area. It's cleared up towards halfway. The header is won for Ecuador by Preciado, and Qatar have it once more out on this left-hand side, but they are enjoying more possession in this second half. It's not something that necessarily is a key part of their game, possession, regardless of the opposition. When they won the Asian Cup in 2019, they only had 49% possession across that whole campaign, and in the final where they beat Japan it was 39%. So they don't need the ball, and what we're seeing here is they have the ball outside the centre circle, Paddy. Ecuador are happy to sit off here. They're 2-0 up. They're comfortable in this match. It's the opening game of a World Cup. They can try and hit Qatar on the counter as they're doing now, building down the left-hand side as Ibarra plays it out, looks for the return ball. Good covering, interception by Huki, who will clear away for Qatar. But they don't have to force anything whatsoever, Ecuador.
Do you know the weird thing looking at? I know they're 2-0 down. I'll come back to that was an unusual one. I think Preciado thought the goalkeeper was slightly off his line. What's intriguing is I think there's a lot of people that were watching this game in the first half haven't come back. And if you noticed over the far side there's a lot of empty seats. So people have watched the first half and they haven't come back in the second half. Now, and it's unbelievably quiet. The noise you can hear is the renter mob on the left-hand side who, they just don't look as if they're part of the real fan base. It's the rest of it. Before you start saying, well, Qatar hasn't got any history in football, etc., 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 tends to happen in opening games. I've been to a few now, and what happens is real football fans are kept away, and VIPs, etc., manage to get these initial tickets, and it can lead to a very poor atmosphere. And let's be honest, Vicky, if you take your headphones off you, it's a library at the moment.
Ecuador in possession, leading by 2-0. And I think what surprises me is we've got this huge section of yellow-clad Ecuador fans behind the goal. Their team's had a very good first half. Yes, they're just knocking it around inside their own half right now, so there's not too much to cheer about. But I don't know, it's people almost seem more excited about the opening ceremony and the build-up than they do about the actual football. Anyway, Ecuador coming forward, ball into the area. It's just swiped at and missed by Estrada, and fizzes behind Valencia as well. But that was a very good delivery from the left-hand side. Goes out for a Qatar throw, and it's still Ecuador who lead by 2-0.
Yep, another injury on the far side there for one of the Qatari players. I actually couldn't see what quite happened there. We have another look at it again. Nope, still not seeing it. He stayed down there. I think he might fancy a wee rest, if nothing else. I mean, for the Ecuadorian team, they're now they're running towards their own fans, and they would love to score into those fans there. But those fans look as if they know a bit about the game, because they're looking as if to say, I've got this one wrapped up. We'll get excited when we attack. But, there's no point in pretending this is in the balance and we're overexcited about it. What this game actually really, really needs is a goal for Qatar. And if how unlikely it feels like it might happen, that's what this game needs.
Yeah, which they almost got a goal back, although we would have had to see if it was offside before the break. Their only real chance of this match so far. They trail by 2-0 on 5 Live and BBC Sounds, and they're in possession inside their own half, looking to bring it out to the right hand side. And Valencia on a hat-trick for Ecuador is sniffing around, just snapping at the heels of the Qatari defenders, but they send it all the way back to Saad Al-Sheeb, who will clear long downfield. Ecuador win the ball, but the decision has gone against them, and Qatar will have a set piece. It has been a little stop-start at times as well, hasn't it, from the match's point of view in terms of niggly fouls, which hasn't helped the flow of the game.
It hasn't helped it, and also I think there's a match awareness about certainly most of the Ecuadorian players, they seem to realise that, wait a minute, this could be a long tournament. Do we really want to run ourselves into the ground unnecessarily here?
They've given the ball away, Qatar, and Ecuador could be in here. It's Ibarra, it's a good save by Al-Sheeb. It's beaten away to the edge of the penalty area, and the clearance is completed by Ahmed. Ecuador will try and bring it forwards once again, looking for this third goal. Down to the right-hand corner flag they go. Good pressure put on Valencia, who does win the throw. But that was a decent stop from Al-Sheeb. He's had a really shaky game so far, the Qatar number one. Good save.
I'm trying really hard not to be over negative about him, right? See if you let that one in. I just said, what? No, it's far too close to him, and he's pushed it away, and it's fine. It's a bog standard save, and he had to save it. I would ask the question of Ibarra. I think he made the poor decision.
Preciado sends the throw deep into the penalty area. Cleared away by Qatar, just about. Ecuador close it down on the edge of the box. Akram Afif then goes down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 somersaults, and that will earn the free kick and the yellow card as well for Jegson Mendes.
Have you ever seen a player with a broken leg have 5 rolls? I've not. But he is a foul, and it might be a wee bit achy, a wee bit painful, but I think a little bit too much. Actually, I'll watch that again. Can I take some of that back? Can I take all of that back? Nasty looking tackle. I think he's going to be okay. You won't roll at that if you're badly injured, but it was a nasty looking tackle, if you know what I mean. So well done. Correct giving the yellow card out for Mendes, who didn't expect to be starting today.
He didn't. It's a big night for the 25-year-old. His first World Cup, as it is for all but 3 of this Ecuador squad. But Carlos Gruezo, who is one of their key men in midfield, hasn't made the starting lineup for this one. He came off in tears, injured last weekend for Augsburg. Did make the squad for the World Cup, but not the starting lineup for this match. And there was talk beforehand with Tim Vickery, wasn't there, about whether that would be something that really impacted Ecuador this evening. So far it hasn't, but if you look at their next games, they've got the Netherlands on Friday, they've got Senegal next Tuesday. That match in particular could be decisive to see how the Netherlands go in this tournament, of course, but it's one of those that they will hope to have him back sooner rather than later, Guerrero.
Yeah, and they also may have to make a decision going forward. I mean, we're not quite writing off this game just now, but they need to make a decision going forward. Do they stay with the 4-4-2? Are they going to be brave enough to do that? Or do they go back to a 4-3-3, slightly more defensive? They weren't creating chances and goals anywhere near as much when they were playing with that. So that's a big call for the management team to make, but we don't have to make it quite yet. But just at the moment, I mean, if Qatar could get a couple of half-decent, attempts at goal and maybe score a goal, you just wonder what effect it would have on their players at the moment. But there's just not anything to show for it. There's nobody getting on the ball and saying, oh, I'm a bit special, I can do something different. I mean, Afif, I have to say, he's good technically on the ball. He looks neat and tidy when he's on the ball, but you need to be more than that at this level.
Foul there for Ecuador. They'll have a free kick just inside their own half, and there weren't quite somersaults there from Gonzalo Plata, but I think he is he is trying to talk Daniele Orsato into a yellow card there, but it's not forthcoming, and we're back underway with Caicedo of Brighton.
Yeah, a little bit too much wrong about that unnecessarily. I mean, so far the Ecuadorians have done very well. They've just up and gone with the game. They've been very strong themselves when they had to be strong, and I think that's part of the thing that spooked the Qataris. They were physically bullied out of the game in those first 15 or 20 minutes, and a number of players thought, I'm not big enough, I'm not strong enough for this, and instead of trying to find another answer, they just wilted in the face of it.
They've been better in the second half, but they couldn't have been much worse than in the first, and Ecuador just still looks so comfortable. I mean, at the moment Qatar just cannot get the ball. They're knocking it around Ecuador. They're not too bothered at the moment about getting over the halfway line. They're happy just to pass the ball around. The second match in Group 8, Senegal-Netherlands, coming up tomorrow. All coverage of all matches you can listen to on BBC Radio 5 Live and BBC Sounds across this tournament. We've got coverage of every game, and of course we have the start of England and Wales journeys tomorrow on 5 Live and BBC Sounds. All the build-up starting in 5 Live Breakfast with Rick Edwards from 6 o'clock. Mark Chapman takes over at 11. Chris Sutton, Micah Richards, Rob Green, just some of our team covering 2 huge games more across the day on 5 Live and BBC Sounds. England against Iran, Wales against the USA, as Preciado goes down for Ecuador, and the medical staff might get another run out. And to say the tempo has gone out of the game, Pat, would be an understatement. Although the Qatari fans in those red shirts, that line down, that left-hand side of the lower tier to our left, they're still going.
Yeah,
but nobody else really is at the moment.
Nobody else is, and as I say, large numbers of people haven't come back for the second half. And I'll be honest with you, that big group of Qatari fans, inverted commas, ultras there, they're the half the size they were before the game as well. So I think an unusual way it's done. Just as we were talking about Preciado, he's gone down there, right? And it's because every tackle he makes is an extreme lunge, isn't it? And every pass he makes is like an overhead kick or flies out towards it. And it's, if you play it that mad intensity all the time, you're going to strain something. And it looks as if he has.
Yeah, he's just being held to his feet by the Ecuador medical team. But he is one to watch. If there's a player that you want to keep an eye on, because you never quite know what piece of skill, what flash of temper, as he's shown in the past, might come out. Angelo Preciado is one of them.
No, he's a good player, but he's an exciting player. But he's not just, he's one of those full-backs you think, right, okay, you can do the whole job. You could play as a wing-back, you could play as a winger, you could play as a full-back. There aren't that many who have got every bit of the skill set, and he seems to have every bit of it. And he's nuts.
And one to watch as he's waiting to come back on. So Ecuador temporarily down to 10 as Qatar send the ball into the penalty area, and the header on goal flashes wide, but it's a rare chance for Qatar. It's wide once more. They've had a couple of headed opportunities, and that was a decent run through the centre, but it's one of those from one of the players that has stood out in this match when he's got on the ball. Pedro Miguel, the right wing back, coming in, sends the header wide, but that is better from Qatar.
He's head and shoulders above any other player in his team. Comes in for the back post there, and he's got himself into interesting positions on that right hand side. They've not been, the thing is, they've not had the technical ability to find him early enough. Eventually when they got the ball sprayed out to that right hand side, he's usually covered a little bit. That was an early ball, and he managed to go and attack it and get a header towards goal. They need to try and get him on the ball a little bit more often.
And you have to say there's times now where he's out there in space on the right wing, just on the halfway line. A couple of times in the first half, particularly as we approached half time and they were pushing forward more Qatar, I was thinking, why don't you get the ball out? As you say, why don't you get the ball out to him? Because when he's on the ball, he is one of their best players, as Qatar have it just inside their own penalty area, trailing Ecuador by 2-0.
I'll tell you one of the reasons why. Because up here, it looks easier. But more importantly, and I would say this is the most important thing, we used to watch them at a level where the players can see that ball all the time. At another level, they don't see it.
They have tried to find him there. He and Almoez Ali go for the ball at the same time. The flag is up anyway. Slight miscommunication there for Qatar, and it will be a free kick to Ecuador. If we're talking about it, we want to set the performance tonight in context for Qatar. It's not been good. But looking at the games that they played in 2022, that one defeat in 12, but the 3 games that I think tell us the most are the games against teams that are at this World Cup. So they beat Ghana 2-1, Ghana the lowest ranked side at this tournament. They drew 2-2 with Morocco, and they lost 2-0 v Canada. And it's those sort of games that you think, well, what can they draw on from that as much as what we can? But so far, they've been utterly outclassed by Ecuador in this opener. And it goes back to what we were saying in the first half, Pat, as Qatar have the ball inside their own penalty area. How much can we tell about Ecuador from this? Because they were very good in the first half. They've completely taken their foot off the gas in the second, leading by 2-0. I mean, they're saving themselves, aren't they, for the Netherlands and Senegal?
And rightly so. But there is always that delicacy. You don't want to save yourself and then lose a weird goal and find yourself having to really chase it and work hard and throw in the tackles, etc., as the game's going on. But they are managing it well. I think we're seeing enough that they're a decent side. They're a side that's going to be difficult to get past. I think the Dutch look technically a better side than them, but we shall see. I'm not sure if they're physically as good or as strong as the Ecuadorians. The game against Senegal will be intriguing, very, very intriguing, and that might be the most decisive match in this group.
Yeah, that is the final game for Ecuador and Senegal. And as Pat says, it could very well be decisive for seeing who goes through. You would think with the Netherlands. But as we know, there are always a few shocks, always a few upsets. You think Germany, last time to name but one at World Cups, when the elite of world football come together. As the ball goes out of play, over on the far side, it will be a throw to Qatar. And it's one of those things that Gustavo Alfaro down there, the Ecuador manager, I think he'll be very, very pleased with how this game has gone. He's earned a lot of praise for the trust that he has given to the youth side on the young players and bringing them through into the senior team. We mentioned the likes of Caicedo of Brighton and Estupinian as well, as Qatar try and build down the right, cleared away by Ecuador. But it's also the team unity, and of course all teams say that they're unified and it's something they work on, but he said, Gustavo Alfaro, when he came in just over 2 years ago, there were players that didn't want to play for the national team for Ecuador. There was no sense of belonging, and he's worked really hard on team spirit and unity. And as Ecuador go off hunting in a pack, those yellow shirts closing down the maroon shirts of Qatar, who have it midway through their own half, that's certainly on evidence tonight, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it has been so far up until now. Again, it's this half slowly builds. You can see when Ecuador don't close down, the Qataris suddenly think, well, actually, we can pass the ball here, we can hold the ball. We've got a little bit more belief. They've not got any brilliant technical stuff going forward, but you just wonder, Ecuador, can you keep it going?
As Hassan plays the ball into the area for Qatar, the header is won only as far as Miguel. Out on the right-hand side, trying to get the ball across. It's blocked and will be brought away by Caicedo, but he can't keep it in. And the ball will go out of play for a Qatar throw. Qatar 0, Ecuador 2, midway through the second half.
Do you know, they're going to make a change now, Ecuador, and I actually think that's a really good thing. A really good thing to do that. I think it might be another Brighton that's coming on. It usually is. But they've gone off a little bit. They've gone off the ball. As I say, you take it down a few gears. See if you have to turn it up. Sometimes it's hard to do that with an entire group. They were at it in the first half, and at the moment they're struggling to get a hold of the ball, whereas in the first half the poor quality of the technical play when the Qataris were closed down was making it look awful. When you don't close them down, they look much, much better, the Qatari players.
And they've won a free kick just inside their own half. It will be Jeremy Sarmiento, powder spotted of Brighton, coming on, Brighton's Young Player of the Year last season, 3 appearances this season, still just 20 years old. And he will come on for Romario Ibarra. So Sarmiento takes Brighton's total up to 3 on the pitch. And Ibarra is just making his way off over on that far side. He actually dislocated his finger last week, Ibarra, against Iraq. Fit enough to start, but one of those that if you're going to make a change, obviously tactically as well.
I just wonder, I think he's maybe a little bit lucky to start. Ibarra has started a lot of the games. His goal scoring record's okay, but he's very direct, and I don't know how many tricks he's got. I don't know how many other ideas he's got. He's quite one-dimensional. His play is totally dependent on that pure physicality. And there comes a time, particularly at World Cups, where that ain't enough. So big chance here for Sarmiento. If he has a good, little period of time here in this game, he could find himself starting in the next game.
Midway through the second half, Ecuador lead by 2-0 here on 5 Live and BBC Sounds. And Valencia with both in the first half. It's as many goals as Ecuador have scored in their last 6 matches combined. Nice little back heel there from Gonzalo Plata as Ecuador work it down this right-hand side, and Preciado. Plata will try and latch onto it. Does he just keep it in? Yes, he does. And then Preciado goes down. No free kick given. The assistant was right there with him. And Qatar will try and bring the ball away. Ecuador pick it up on the halfway line, leading by 2-0. But it's fascinating, isn't it? What a change can do. Sarmiento, I don't think, has touched the ball yet, but suddenly Ecuador just playing with a little bit more zip, a little bit more vigour, a little bit more control of this match as Plata plays it into the penalty area. It was left by Enner Valencia, but there was no yellow shirt right behind him, and Qatar will clear away.
Yeah, you bring a player on, but also there's messages come on with the player. He'll have had a word with 1 or 2, tell the midfield, you need to step this up a bit, you need to close down a bit quicker, because if you don't, even average players will show you up.
Bit of space opening up for Qatar, closed down quickly by Ecuador, but the ball forward is still found by Boudiaf, but it can't be collected, and now Ecuador will try and counter with Sarmiento of Brighton off the bench to try and make a difference in this match that Ecuador are still leading by 2-0. A little push there yields a free kick for Ecuador as Caicedo goes down.
We had Sarmiento on a World Service show just this week, and he seems like a lovely lad, and I think he knows he's on the cusp. He's got a real chance. He didn't start the game today. I think he was hopeful but not expecting to start this game today, but this is a real opportunity for him, and any player who's signed up for the Premier League, you've got to have other qualities, and he's already shown in his first couple of movements he's looking really lively, up for it, and believes in himself.
So free kick to be taken by Ecuador, playing from left to right, all in bright yellow as the ball is swung into the penalty area. Qatar get first contact. Torres was up there, the centre half for Ecuador, but Qatar will clear away out to this near side, and it will be a throw for Ecuador, and a double change being prepared for Qatar. Hassan Al-Haydos, the captain, their most capped player, is one of those coming off.
He's not had a great appearance in the game, has he? He's not really done a great deal. You need a lot more than that from your captain. Maybe he actually did a little bit better at the start of the second half, so it's maybe no surprise that Ali's coming off as well. He's not had a great impact in the game, has he?
Yeah, Almoaz Ali, one of their star players, the other to be replaced, Mohamed Wad and Mohamed Muntari on for Qatar. So the double change, they look to try and find a way to at least fashion a chance, then get on the score sheet and then go from there. But it's Ecuador in possession with Sarmiento. Quick footwork down the left-hand side, goes down, was just clipped there. Free kick in a good position for Ecuador here on the left-hand side, just about level with the edge of the penalty area.
And that's what looked so dangerous in the first half. Less so, it has to be said, in the second half. But when they're putting balls in there, asking Al-Shib questions, and he wasn't having a huge amount of answers, was he, when the ball was put in there? I tell you what, wasn't too far away from the edge of the 18-yard line, that free kick, but I think the referee's got that one right.
So 18 minutes plus added time to play here on 5 Live and BBC Sounds. Ecuador looking for this third goal. They've looked set for the 3 points, in truth, since Valencia got his second of the match just after the half-hour mark. But 3-0 would very, very much put an already slumbering game soundly to bed. Set piece to be taken from the left-hand side. The referee's not quite happy again. I mean, I really don't think there's very much going on there between the players. But Daniele Osato has seen something as Ecuador will now swing the set piece in. It's won by the substitute Muntari for Qatar and headed out of the penalty area back to the left-hand side as Ecuador look to get it back into the penalty area. They've conceded the throw, Qatar, and Ecuador suddenly have wrested back all the momentum. The maroon shirts camped so deep inside their own half, trailing by 2-0.
I think the manager must have had a word. I mean, it isn't just that change. It's they've lifted it a little bit. The system's not massively changed. I mean, they almost look as if they've gone to a 3 at the back, but I don't think they have just now. But at the moment, they've looked over at the manager and he's just given them the glare. And the glare seems to be enough for them to lift it a little bit. Don't take any chances, because you've been plenty of times we've been playing football games, you're 2-0 up and you're cruising, it's dead easy. Lose a silly goal or someone gets a second booking, you're down to 10 men, and suddenly what should have been a cruise is no longer is.
Galindez clears long downfield. Fourth mention, I make that. The Ecuador goalkeeper.
Has he made a save yet? He's made one, hasn't he?
Yeah. But the best 2 chances for Qatar have been sent wide, with Galindez not called into action. Both headers, both wide of the target. And Ecuador, it is still very comfortable, very in control. Even though they're not seeing as much of the ball, Qatar struggling to hurt them in any decisive way. And Ahmed almost loses the ball, but that's good play by the young left wing back. Turns away for Qatar, plays it forward to Akram Afif. And Qatar come over the halfway line, trailing by 2-0 in this World Cup opener here on 5 Live and BBC Sounds. In field now to Boudiaf as Qatar look to work it with Hatem down the right hand side. The cross is swung across the penalty area, comes all the way to Ahmed outside the box on the left hand side for Qatar. And the maroon shirts arriving in the penalty area. Akram Afif goes for goal, 25 yards. It was always rising, but you can just tell there how he strikes the ball. That's a player of quality.
Again, and it's that's one of the best moves I've had in the game. They held it really confidently because they aren't being closed down. You can see they just grow into it. They believe in themselves. They're finding their teammates. The one thing I would say about the Qataris, they don't look as if they're tiring. And that can be a big thing in games like this. They're not tiring. You maybe, and as I say that, we've got one player who's gone down there, and I'm trying to see who it is. I'm trying to see, is it Estrada or is it Valencia?
Valencia, yeah. Valencia down for Ecuador, who did take that knock before half-time. He's come on. He's not had much service, you have to say, in this second half. At absolutely no point. He scored 2 goals. That's why Ecuador lead by 2-0. He's become their record World Cup scorer in the process. No point with the Netherlands and Senegal to come in him playing on any longer. And I think Gustavo Alfaro is of the same opinion.
I'm not convinced it was a good idea for him to come back out in the second half. I mean, he's worn that down there. He's got an injury. He clearly had an injury. I was quite concerned about it when he got down. And it was one of those ones where I thought, I'll not be surprised at half-time if he doesn't come back on again, because it could stiffen up. Well, it might not have stiffened up at half-time, but it certainly stiffened up now because he is limping heavily.
Yeah, so the change is preparing to be made. It will be Jose Cifuentes to come on, plays for the US champions LAFC, just won the MLS playoffs with Gareth Bale. 7 goals this season. One of the side that won the Under-20 South American Championship as well with Ecuador, which was one of the reasons why Gustavo Alfaro brought so many of that team through. So he is on, captain, record goal scorer, 2 goals tonight. Enner Valencia is off, and we play on. And it's these stoppages as well at this World Cup. As in so many competitions now, you can use the 5 substitutions. You have 3 opportunities to do that other than half-time. But you can feel that perhaps as the game ticks on, we've got 30 minutes plus added time to play, that it's just going to break up with these stoppages, and that will suit Ecuador.
It will break up with these stoppages. What's been quite interesting, the referee's gone for his card again. Again, it's one of those ones where just tried to play it early, and he's not, Afif's not going to argue too much about that one. Another yellow card. I thought for a moment he'd been carded before, but that was Ali who'd been carded before. But one of the other things about this is, and it's worth underlining, that it's not that hot out there. It's actually quite a nice, mild, easy night to go and play a game of football. They're not being pushed. That ain't going to be the case for a lot of the games. I mean, some days it is really going to be boiling. It's going to have a massive effect on some of the teams. They're playing this game just now. I have a slight suspicion the Qataris would have been a bit better had it been much, much hotter. The game would have been played at a slower pace. They couldn't have been closed down quite as quickly as they have. But they wanted the game moved early. They got it moved early, and I don't think it suited them.
Ecuador with the set piece, leading by 2-0. Referee had to duck to get out of the way of that one. Qatar meet it on the edge of their own penalty area, and now we'll try and counter. Tidied up at the back by Mendes for Ecuador, who will come forward once more. Cifuente, the substitute in the pale orange boots, collects it and sends it all the way back inside the Ecuadorian half. And now with Felix Torres, and out to the right hand side, and Preciado. Forward now to Gonzalo Plata, and Ecuador again just very happy to knock the ball around. They know they're in control, they know they're heading for 3 points in this World Cup opener, and they're looking now for the 3rd goal as they come down the left hand side. Ball into the area, it will fall to Sarmiento, who misses on the angle. The flag goes up and spares the Brighton man's blushes, but it was high, it was over, it was a good chance for Sarmiento, and it's wasted.
It's a shame, that. It's a brilliant chance. To be honest, I think there was probably an offside. Certainly the flag goes up afterwards, but they would have checked it there. It fell down. I don't think it would have been offside, because Sarmiento was the one who was offside originally, but he didn't get the ball. So had they looked at it again, that probably would have stayed onside. That was a great chance. He's got to get that onside, and when he goes to bed tonight, if he doesn't score again, that'll be the last thing he thinks about before he goes to sleep.
Qatar in possession inside their own penalty area, as Al-Sheeb under pressure clears away. And as we've said, the Brighton man, he's trying to force his way into this starting lineup. It's one of those, if he comes on, he scores that, then
he's got a great chance because he's looked very, very lively. It's up to his appearance today. I think he's looked better technically than the man he replaced. And John, who's helping us here, just sent us a nice little line from social media, and it was Ecuador and Hove Albion. I quite like that.
And they're big players as well. I mean, Sarmiento's at a slightly different stage of his career, as you say, on the cusp potentially of great things as they come forward now. Ecuador, Cifuentes plays it forward. Won't quite ricochet on the edge of the area, but will be picked up by another Brighton man, is Stupinian, who plays it to his club teammates, Caicedo. And now here goes Cifuentes once again, plays the ball in, looking for the run of Plata. But Al-Sheeb gets there first and wins the free kick as well. Plata just sliding in, trying to nick that ball away. Just caught the Qatari goalkeeper, but he's up to his feet. Qatar are ready to take the free kick. We're into the final 10 minutes of this World Cup opener, and Ecuador still lead by 2-0. It
actually looks really neat on that left-hand side. All three Brighton players all together. And that's a good understanding by Caicedo and Estepinian, because they do understand each other. They've worked together for a long time. Obviously they've helped each other at Brighton beforehand, but that entire left-hand side are working each other at club level all the time, and that's a big temptation for managers. But they often forget about that. A manager will love to put, if it's a tight one, put three players together because they know each other and know each other's movements.
Clearance from Al-Sheeb is straight out of play, and Ecuador will have a throw. And that's interesting. Sarmiento, having come on, is gesturing to the Ecuadorian fans and he's saying, come on, give us some noise. And now suddenly they all wake up. That yellow clad bottom tier away to our right, they're waving the Ecuadorian flags. I mean, if that's all it took, I don't know why somebody didn't do that earlier.
Well, that and another couple of chances of possibly a goal would help as well. But it's funny, they're all dressed, they're all up for it, but then they just believe that the game's almost won already.
Ecuador looking for this third goal. Outside the Qatar penalty area, down the right-hand side they go with Jackson Mendes. He's well pressured, steered out of the penalty area, but Ecuador still in possession. And suddenly the passes are clicking, they're playing with more speed, more zip. Mendes has gone down and will win a free kick as well. So midway through the Qatar half, right-hand side. And these stoppages, both sides, it's fair to say, sometimes have made made as much of as they can, but Ecuador suddenly, it's just the pace has just picked up a bit once again.
It's one of those ones he's gone down again. There was a clasped hand on his chin, but he's gone down like he was punched by a heavyweight boxer. He will be fine, we have no doubt about that, but it's in a dangerous position. Now, they actually haven't asked enough questions of Al-Sheeb, have they, in the second half? First half they were putting the ball on top of him every time and he wasn't dealing with it well. Let's see if he can do it this time.
So Gonzalo Plata to take the free kick, swung in left-footed, and the answer, Pat, is...
No, they can't, because they lumped it out of play. Delivery very, very poor, and they have really fallen off it. And you're right, it's very difficult to know how much of it is like, we've got this, we've sorted this, we're managing the game, in comparison to, all right, can we keep on going? It's difficult. And by the way, that's exactly that injury. I thought we've just had a look at Valencia on the bench there, and it is that medial ligament that he's got the ice on. Precisely the one I thought it was, and it's, you hate that as a player because there's nothing you can do. You can't work on it. You just got to leave that one and to let it hopefully get better, and hopefully it's not a tear.
Yeah, but it will be fingers crossed for Ecuador's top scorer, as Hassan, under pressure outside his own penalty area for Qatar, wins the free kick, flagged for by the assistant. It's one of those as well where, as you said when he went off, Pat, if it ends up that he is, even just out of the next game against the Netherlands, which is huge, and then, as we say, the Senegal match, which could be decisive, if the Netherlands end up winning the group, and then Senegal and Ecuador potentially playing out for that second spot and going through to the last 16.
You need them back.
Exactly, and if you have played him in the second half, I mean, he didn't have much service, no real chances, and... they have players on the bench to come on and make a difference in the attacking sense.
The other side of it is they actually can play a different system. He actually didn't play all the time in the build-up to this. They do play a 4-3-3, so you don't need two strikers up there. Look, at some point we're going to have to have a major discussion. I'm sure we'll have after the game. Everyone's gone. This is the opening game of the World Cup. it's the Qatari nations game. Yes, they're getting beat. Everyone's gone. It's half empty, isn't it? It's more than half empty. If you take away, the supporters that are here for Ecuador and the ones that are, rent a mob on the left-hand side, apart from that, well over half of the stadium's gone home.
Yep, the red seats are appearing around us at Al Bat. I have to say the Ecuador contingent has stayed firmly seated behind that goal away to our right, their side leading by 2-0, approaching the final 5 minutes, and is there to be a final flourish from Ecuador. Here goes Sarmiento, slides the ball through. It is just ahead of Estrada, but he does reach it down by the byline, tried to chip the ball across. Difficult one, can't quite keep it in, and it goes behind for a Qatar goal kick. But again, praise for Sarmiento.
Yeah. Yes and no. Yes and no. He sees the pass, he runs and gets into a good position. The delivery's poor. Just zip that into his feet. I mean, he's got plenty of space there. Don't play it in front of him. It's too far in front of him. But in actual fact, he does that. Give it into his feet and let him deal with it.
Perhaps a chance here. Roof of the net for Qatar. Oh, what an opportunity for the substitute, Mohamed Muntari. He caught it nicely. It was a difficult shot from the edge of the penalty area. And suddenly, the Al Bat Stadium almost let out a collective gasp, because what a goal that would have been from Mohamed Muntari for Qatar.
In all seriousness, had that gone in, that would have been one of the best goals of this World Cup. Whatever happened from here on in. One-touch move, right over the top of the defence, and he's caught it beautifully, but only slightly too well. Really good running. Where's he been? He's frightened the life out of the defence there with his pace. The ball into him was very good as well. And another player who must think at the end of the first half and the end of the second half, they've had opportunities and they haven't been able to take them.
They're coming forward once more, though. Is there to be a sting in the tail here? It's just over the head of Muntari, who is in there again. Sent back in from the right-hand side, and it's well claimed by Galindez, and that is one of the only actions of note he's made. But he took that well, Ecuador's goalkeeper. He's down inside his own 6-yard box, but suddenly Qatar, in the final 4 minutes plus added time, springing to life. And we have to say, that chance there for Muntari, difficult one, but he caught it well. And right at the end of the first half, for Almoez Ali, whether he was offside or not, VAR would have had to have had a look. But they have had a couple of good openings, and for Miguel as well. And that is what Felix Sanchez, that was always their game plan. Yeah. Be clinical with the chances. They've had so few of them, and they haven't been able to do that. But decent effort from Muntari.
Yeah, decent effort there. And to be fair, I think there's been quite a lot of talk about propaganda, and he can actually go and build that and say, well, wait a minute, we had a couple of chances, we could have maybe got level in this game. I do think Ecuador could have gone up another gear or two if they had to.
So Ecuador building down the right-hand side. Here is Sarmiento over on this wing now, and the deflection is kind to Qatar, and will take it into the hands of Saad Al-Sheeb.
Well, he's given a corner kick. I thought
he's not kept it in. Yeah. There we go.
Yeah, I actually thought it was offside there originally. I thought and doesn't help. You've been very, very good about this. I have to tell the listeners. For most of this half, there's been a series of men standing immediately in front of you, getting right in the way.
He's not looking around. Go on, look round now. Sorry, can you just... Thank you. Right, now we can see the corner. They come to the top of the steps. They stand here with security and look at us. All we're doing is commentating, and we need to see the pitch.
Right in front of the goal.
He's moved now. It's a corner to Ecuador, who lead by 2-0. It's headed away at the near post by Qatar. And honestly, it'll be seconds before somebody else comes up, because it's different people every time. They'll go, oh, sorry, and then 20 seconds
It's a bit of play, but I just don't think they know what's going on.
Yeah. Anyway, Ecuador throw, leading by 2-0, and they're preparing a double change as well. But it is almost job done for Ecuador in this World Cup opener. 2 minutes plus added time to play, and Qatar are heading for defeat on their World Cup debut. Preciado takes the throw short. Here is Gonzalo Plata, forced down to the corner flag, brought away well by Qatar. Up towards the halfway line with Omar Ahmed, who hasn't had too much chance to show what he can do offensively, but again is one of those players you can see the potential, the exuberance of youth that he has, as Ecuador prepare to make this double change. And Michael Estrada, the first player to come off, and he will be replaced by Kevin Rodriguez. Now, this is an interesting one. Kevin Rodriguez plays in the second tier in Ecuador, in Babura. He's impressed for them, but he was a real surprise inclusion. He only made his debut earlier this month against Iraq. So he is coming on to make his major tournament bow. And the other change being made is Brighton's Moises Caicedo is coming off, and Alan Franco, who plays for the Argentinian side Talleres, 24 years old, is coming on. But Kevin Rodriguez, what a moment for him, 22 years old. And as we say, real surprise inclusion in this Ecuador squad. Not only is he in the squad, he's got the number 26, the last number he can get, as we enter 5 minutes of added time, but he's on for his debut, and that is a show of confidence by Gustavo Alfaro, because that was the key question from the Ecuadorian media. Kevin Rodriguez in the squad, and he said, I've got confidence. He played so well in terms of coping with the occasion against Iraq. It was like he was playing for his club side in Babura, and he's done enough to impress and get on the pitch.
I mean, you think of all the players at this World Cup who least expected to be there. He might be the top one.
Indeed, as Qatar come down the left-hand side, trailing by 2-0 against Ecuador in this World Cup opener on 5 Live and BBC Sounds. Remember, 6:06 follows us. Have your say with Robbie and Chris as we build up to England and Wales starting their World Cup campaigns tomorrow. 08085 909 693 as Qatar have the ball in the centre of the pitch. Here is Abdulaziz Hatem out to the right-hand side. The fans that have stayed inside the stadium, how they would love to see a Qatari goal, but it's Ecuador who are pushing for the third to seal off the 3 points in style. Here is Franco, one of the substitutes. It's not too much time for Kevin Rodriguez to come on and make his impact, but he'll certainly do his best.
I think he's just delighted to be here, let's be fair about it. It's brilliant that he's got a chance to be here. And they have lifted it. And it tells me something about Ecuador, that when they had to, they knew when the time was right to lift it a bit and say, no, shut the door. They're getting a bit excited now, the opposition. Just watching, as the game has gone on, you've got time to really look at it. Just technically, they aren't good enough. They don't receive the ball in the right ways, the Qatari players, and even some of the players who are rated as the highest rated players in their team, they get the ball and they don't see the pictures early enough. It's one of those old footballer sayings. They're not seeing them quick enough for this level of football. And that's not tiredness, that's not nervousness, that's just not being of this level. And I think there'll be a brave person who will say that they're going to get any more than 0 points in this group.
And it only gets harder. Senegal up next for Qatar on Friday, and then the Netherlands next Tuesday. A reminder, we have coverage of every World Cup match on 5 Live and BBC Sounds across the tournament, as Ecuador almost win the ball inside the penalty area. The whistle's gone though, and it will be a free kick to Qatar. There you go, Kevin Rodriguez trying to get involved like we said he would, but gives away the foul instead.
Well, what you want when you come on is you want to get a couple of touches, if you go and get your game at the World Cup, and then someone says, yeah, you played, but you never got a kick. You don't want that, so he's coming in and making sure he has some effect.
So into the final 2 minutes of added time, Ecuador leading by 2-0.
By the way, I've thought of another thing. Obviously, you have to remember where you are. Most of the inverted commas Qatari fans have gone, almost all of them. They might know something about traffic that we don't. There is that possibility.
Qatar in possession. They're still pushing forwards when they can. It's rare, it's few and far between. But we have to say, as Pat mentioned, 15 minutes or so, and it's still true, the energy levels have stayed good. Whatever they've been doing on the training camp, in terms of one-on-one battles and technicality in the vision, they are clearly second best to Ecuador. But certainly their ability to keep up in the game and keep up with the running has stayed pretty consistent throughout. But it's Ecuador coming forward down the left-hand side. They win the corner.
Yep, and again, when they need to switch it on again, the Ecuadorians do look a lot more dangerous down that left side. When you talk, that certainly the Brighton connection throughout the game of various players, they have looked good down that sort of area. There is a little bit of danger on the right-hand side, but I think if you're playing against Ecuador, you need to cut that off from the left-hand side. If you do that, you're a long way to stopping them.
So corner to Ecuador. from the left as we enter the final minute of added time at the end of this World Cup opener. It's swung in towards the 6-yard box. There's a scramble, and Qatar get away with it because it is headed out of play by Ecuador, and it will be behind for a Qatar goal kick, which they take quickly. They have seconds left in this opener, but it is going to end in defeat for Qatar at the start of this World Cup. And Ecuador, well, we'll have to see. They were impressive in the first half. They've been tipped as dark horses for this tournament by Brazil's boss Tite. But it's Qatar now who are trying to push forward, and they have a corner. We have played the minimum 5 minutes added on. Qatar's first corner of the game.
The keeper should be coming up. The keeper should be coming up.
Well, he's asking the question, isn't he? Al Sheeb, he's having a look over to his manager Felix Sanchez, but I think he's not been given the go-ahead. So Qatar with this corner, it's swung in, it's cleared away by Ecuador. It will bounce out for a throw, and there is no time to take it. The fans who have remained inside the Al Bat Stadium, well, a lot of them are cheering because a lot of them are Ecuadorian. They have won the opener by 2-0, and Qatar become the first host country to lose their opening game at a World Cup. Pat Nevin.
Yeah, 2-0 the very, very least. Ecuador should get out of that game with the better side, but they managed the game well in the second half. Little moments when they took their foot off too much. Then you thought, well, wait a minute, if the target's something else. But you just look at the quality of teams that are in this tournament, and the quality of teams they have to come up against now. I think they could get passed off the park. I think they could get run off the park, and I think technically they're a decent distance behind, but we shall see. They might have something more to offer. Whereas the Ecuadorians, well, they are going to be difficult, and they should actually set this up to be a nice group, but a group that's between 3 teams, I suspect.
Yep, Senegal and the Netherlands get their campaign underway tomorrow in Group A, as of course do England.